The addition of Zach Parise is definitely going to give them a little bit more of an edge. It's not Jordan Eberle. I think this is a leader, a guy that can put the puck in the net, especially in big games. He hasn't scored 30 goals in a couple of years because he hasn't been healthy. He believes he has a lot more left in his tank, and going over there to the island with Lou Lamoriello, the guy that drafted him from the New Jersey Devils, I think it's going to be something to watch. I don't know where he's going to play and what position he's going to play. As the season progresses, he could move to the first line with Matthew Barzal. I like the signing Zdeno Chara for 1 year. I think that was a great signing for the Islanders. It's going to help the young goaltender and Sorokin and Varlamov. Whenever he comes back, he could miss the start of the season. That's why they have Corey Schneider. I think the Islanders have looked very, very good in the preseason. They have a lot of offensive firepower, not only from the defensive side of the puck, but the offensive side of the puck. They've looked really, really good. The weakness last year was their power play. I expect their power play to be much better this year with the players that they added in the offseason. I expect the Islanders to be good. I expect them to start off strong this year. I like what Barry Trotz said the other day about what this team is and what this team's going to be. It's going to be a mixture of young and some veteran players. And a lot of people said something about what I said on the Sports Loudmouth, saying that the Islanders are a young team. And then they named players that are over 37. The Islanders have 4 players that are over 35. The rest of the team are under 29 or younger. When you talk about guys like Pulak or Pelech, Matthew Barzal, Wallstrom, Noah Dobson, this is a young team. They have veterans. Most teams do. But this is a young team that is going to be good for many, many years to come because they're all signed. They brought Paul Murray back. Paul Murray's 29. He's going to be 30 years old. Brock Nelson, he's 29, going to be 30 years old. Still very young player. Anthony Bolivier, 26 years old, signed him to 3 years. They have their players. They have their weapons. They might need a piece here and there at the end of the season, maybe at the trade deadline. Maybe they go after a Vladimir Tarasenko or somebody else. They've got a good bunch of young players right now in their farm system that they could trade. I think the Islanders are positioned very, very well, Speedy.
Yeah, full season of Paul Murray will definitely help their offense, too. He could be a power play guy. He could be a guy that could be a top 6 guy rotating on different lines. I would imagine maybe he could even progress to the first once he gets used more to the system. Parise will be kind of like that, too. He'll play first on occasion, but being that he's older, I don't know if he'll do it as a full-time thing. Definitely a power play guy, though. Definitely gives him more wing depth to go along with that because a lot of their guys, they score those tough goals. Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, they'll score the tough goals, but not as much the raw snipers. And I think Parise and Paul Murray full-time give them guys that can more shoot the puck now. And definitely a good mixture of youth and veteran players that'll definitely help in that system. The defense will be fine. I think Sorokin starting the season as more of a full-time goalie will get him more used to it. And I think that'll help him grow as well with Varlamov being hurt.
I think Sorokin is going to be a big part of what the Islanders are going to be in the future. He is the future of the New York Islanders. They gave him a 3-year contract in the offseason. I expect him to be a superstar in this league. I think he's the best young goaltender in the NHL. Some Ranger fans don't believe that, but I know, Speedy, you're a Ranger fan. They have not looked good so far in Gallant's offense. What are your thoughts so far in the preseason? What do you think the Rangers need to do to stand out? I know Panarin hasn't played in the preseason, or Zibanejad really hasn't played this preseason. They're top-end players, but some of the young players have, and they have not looked good.
Yeah, the young players are the biggest key for the Rangers because offensive depth is what they're supposed to be known for, and they didn't show it last year. They progressed in other areas. Shesterkin did look good in the second half of the season. He had a lot of injury issues early on, but he struggled so far this preseason too.
He looks horrible.
The defense, I think they've had some players that look good in the preseason, especially in those games against the Bruins, which they've looked good. Now they get another test with the Islanders, actually tonight in the preseason. And in terms of the rest of the offensive depth, can somebody like Lafreniere, Kakko, can they step up and be the players they're supposed to be? Because they only showed streaky flashes. Lafreniere was better in the second half.
This is Kakko's last year to prove himself.
Yes, I agree. And Lafreniere looked good on faceoffs too, even with other aspects as well, which could help the Rangers get more center depth because that's always been a big weakness for them too. But Lafreniere is still right now considered more of that hybrid. The system will help them be more physical. The question is how much more physical, and they're going to need it in this tough metro.
I think when you look at the Rangers, we know what Fox is. Fox is going to have a good season. We need to see DeAndre play better. We need to see some of these defensive players that they're going to be bringing up early this season to play well. The Rangers have so many deficiencies, and their defense is just not good. They have one good defenseman, and And the rest, you're going to trust Trouba to play well this year?
Stay healthy. So.
Is he going to stay healthy? Are they going to trust any of these young players like DeAndre Miller? I want to see that DeAndre Miller can actually play a whole season and stay healthy. He hasn't looked good in the preseason either. So if you're a Ranger fan, you are not excited what you have seen so far in the preseason, but it's the preseason. We've seen teams play terrible in the preseason and start off very strong early in the season. But last year, I remember Philadelphia starting off terrible in the preseason, and it just moved into the regular season to be terrible for them. With the young goaltender, everybody was talking about him being the best young goaltender in hockey, and he lost his job. That has a lot to do with coaching, too. But you look at the Rangers, I like Gallant. Do I think Gallant was the best fit for him? No, I don't. I think they should have brought in Mark Messier. I think the fact that the fans would have loved him, being that he was the last guy to bring in a Stanley Cup, he was the captain of the Rangers. He really brought back the prominent championship Rangers and where you wanted to see the Ranger teams be. And they haven't won since 94, and he's been wanting this job for years. Gallant is a winner. Everywhere he's gone, he's won. Has he won a Stanley Cup? No. But he's taking numerous different teams to a Stanley Cup Finals. Couldn't get over a hump. Maybe the Rangers are the team that he could take over the hump. But we remember the different times over the years that the Rangers have brought in coaches and they just haven't fit in New York. Now, I think that the way he coaches and he preaches defense, I think that will help out the offensive players. Panarin has to stay healthy. Panarin needs to play at least 70 games this year, and he needs to have an MVP season if this team is going to make the playoffs, because there are so many deficiencies on the defense. If he doesn't put up a 40 spot and he doesn't give you 80-something points this year, there's a big problem from the New York Rangers.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is will their forwards also improve defensively, too? Because Gallant did that with Vegas. A lot of those new guys that Vegas drafted in the expansion draft were specialty-type guys. Guys like William Karlsson emerged as a goal scorer, but then he also made guys like Eric Holla and Alex Tuck play defense. So hopefully the Rangers, who have more finesse players, hopefully Gallant can have them play defense, too. And the same thing with the other way around. Could maybe these other guys step up in the system and be better goal scorers? Panarin and Zibanejad, we expect to get better. They're great players. But can the rest of the guys around them do it, too? And defensively, too, are those guys going to be more
play rough?
Consistent?
That's something the Rangers need to do
well,
this
of course,
year.
Yeah. The question is, how much more physical will they play? Because it's a tough division as a whole. And obviously the goals are going to be just to make the playoffs. They're not supposed to be a championship team this year. Can they maybe leapfrog a veteran team like a Penguins team or a Capitals team or something like that? Because the Islanders we expect to be there. I think the Flyers got better where they'll be there. They're usually an every other year type team. Carolina's still going to be good. So can they leapfrog somebody in order to get that extra spot? Because the wild card goes back to the regular format. It's not guaranteed that all those Metro teams will make it either. There's still in the Atlantic Division where you could have a team like Florida make it again. Toronto, you got Boston, obviously Tampa. So the wild card is still going to be a tough task anyway.
Kyrie, where are you?
Who knows?
Getting into some basketball conversation. I've been watching the preseason. We will get into the Knicks. They look really promising. I love the depth that the Knicks have right now on their roster. I have been very impressed with Fournier and Walker. And I think if they could stay healthy, they can absolutely help the Knicks be that offensive team that they weren't last year. But this Kyrie Irving thing has been the talk of the NBA. There's no more Andrew Wiggins because he got the shot. He got the vaccination. So there's no more of him not playing for the Golden State Warriors or Golden State trying to trade him. He tried to do that religious reason thing, and it just didn't work. The NBA is not allowing that. But when you talk about Kyrie Irving and the stupid stuff that's come out of this guy's mouth year in and year out, hanging out last year in a Bulldog bus, partying it out when COVID was going on, when the NBA already said that you needed to protect yourself and keep away within 6 feet of everybody that is not vaccinated. And he did not do that. You talk about Kyrie Irving speaking out and saying the things that he said, and then Kevin Durant coming out and saying that we expect Kyrie to be here, we expect him to be a big part of this team. Kevin Durant, when he speaks, does anybody listen? The only time we've heard Kevin Durant and people listen is when he had 7 Twitter pages. Kevin Durant, who is the leader of this team, and don't question the best player on this team, does he really believe that Kyrie Irving is going to get vaccinated? Do you really believe that Kyrie Irving is going to play in 40 home games this year? I believe not. And here's the problem, too. There are other places that if he's not vaccinated, he can't play there either. So how many games is Kyrie Irving going to play this year? 20? 25? Who knows? Because depending on the stadium and depending on what the rules are, where the NBA is going to drop the hammer over there, Kyrie might only play 15, 20 games this year. That's a big loss to lose a player of that significance. Your best point guard, and James Harden's a great player. He's not Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving changes that offense. He makes that offense much better. James Harden, he wasn't 100% healthy, but even when he played in the playoffs last year, did he look any good? He didn't. Kyrie Irving is a playoff player. He can make playoff shots. He can win games. We've seen it. He's won championships with Cleveland. So he knows how to win, and he knows how to understand how to score points in the big parts of the game. James Harden isn't that type of guy. The Nets need him to play a significant amount of games this year. They need him in the offense, and they need to make sure that he could play in the playoffs at home. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if he gets the vaccination. It doesn't seem like he's going to break down on this. I don't think he's going to get the vaccination, Speedy.
This is going to be a really bad burden on Kevin Durant, too, because a guy that's dealt with a lot of injuries himself, too, just coming back from a big one, carrying the load throughout the playoffs the way he has. That's going to be very hard on him. And also the other injury-prone veterans we've seen them have. Blake Griffin's been injury-prone at times in his career, LaMarcus Aldridge. All these guys have been injury-prone, and all of a sudden you're putting a lot more pressure on them, too. Usage rate's always been a problem for James Harden, so if he has to get worn out, too, that's a big reason why he has a lot of trouble in the playoffs. And also when it comes to seeding, too, how much is it going to affect it? The Nets could drop from a 2 seed to a 6 seed because of this.
Not even further than that.
Yeah, as a result, they're going to lose a lot of the home field because of that, and just chemistry in general is a big problem for them last year. And you want to do it with Kyrie Irving not getting the vaccine, and all of a sudden these veteran players all coming back. Good luck.
Well, we saw what happened to the Lakers last year, losing LeBron James for a significant amount of time, and Anthony Davis, where they fell, and then they lost. They lost early, and everybody expected them to go all the way to an NBA championship with the talent that they have, and they fell out in the first round. It doesn't matter how talented you are. You need to be seated in position where you can succeed. I am not excited to hear what Kyrie Irving had to say the other day, and Kyrie Irving needs this vaccination. He needs to bite the bullet, be a man, and go and get the vaccination. I think it's ridiculous that he is trying to make a statement. Andrew Wiggins tried to do that, but when he knew he was going to lose $9 million and he knew that possibly could be traded, Golden State was going to trade him, he made sure that he got vaccinated. So Kyrie needs to be vaccinated. This is a must and a huge problem right now because you can't fake the card anymore. We know a hockey player did that. Kane could be in a lot of trouble. He could be suspended. In the state of New York, if you do that and you have a fake card, you can go to jail for a significant amount of time. So he's not in New York, and thank God Kane is not in New York because he could be fighting in the federal courts or state courts. But what he did, the NHL is going to suspend him. So, to me, you cannot do that. There's no way you can get away with this. You either got to make a decision and do what's right for your team and what's right for your family, or you're going to be costly and put your team and your family in a position to fail. As far as the Knicks are concerned, I am very excited. Every one of them got vaccinated. You look at what we've seen with Kemba Walker and Fournier. I know it's only one game. It's preseason. Everybody says, who cares? But they played a very good Indiana team, a very good defensive Indiana team, a very good offensive Indiana team when healthy, and they had a new coach who has won a championship back in Indiana. So the Knicks didn't just beat Indiana. They ran all over them, 125 to 104, dominated the game defensively. Offensively, they were shooting three-pointers all over the place. Kemba Walker opened up the field for guys like R.J. Barrett and obviously some of the other veteran players that the Knicks have. I look at the Knicks right now. The Knicks were a 4th seed last year. They could move all the way up to a 2nd seed with the depth that they have. The Knicks have arguably the best depth in all of the Eastern Conference. And that's saying a lot when you look at the Knicks over the last couple of years. They didn't have much of a secondary offense. Now you have guys coming off the bench, young players off the bench. You bring in veterans on this team that can score 14, 15 points a game, can shoot the three. Kemba Walker could take over a game. You have players that could take over a game. Do you have a superstar? You don't. But you don't need a superstar to win. And I think as much as Atlanta demolished them in the playoffs last year, this is going to be a different Knicks team if they play Atlanta in the first round.
Yeah, this is 2 open top 2 seeds, too, that could very much happen because the 76ers, Ben Simmons is going to play for them. So unless they get something that can help them win now in a trade, it's going to be very hard. And the Nets drama, like I said, if Kyrie Irving doesn't play, they could fall to a 5 or 6. So that opens the door for Milwaukee, Miami, the Knicks, teams like that to make that leap. And the Knicks could definitely do that if they can get that kind of wing depth, too. The Knicks offense just has to be probably in the middle of the pack with the defense that they have to be competitive, and they need to be more efficient when it comes to certain guys shooting well. And that was a good sign that we're seeing all these other wing guys step up, guys like Fournier. Randall's not shooting as much and shooting them out of games like he did in the playoffs, and same thing with R.J. Barrett. That's a good progress for them for the shot, too. And these veteran point guards will definitely help serve the role to facilitate these guys.
And they have good guard play this year. They brought Derrick Rose back. They brought in Kemba Walker. They still have Quigley, and they drafted some guards. The Knicks are going to have a lot of depth in the guard position. McBride, they brought in a second round, who I think is going to definitely play one way or another this year. Obi Toppin has looked good so far in the preseason. They're getting offense from all different avenues of the game. I think that this team is going to have so much depth offensively. You're going to get guys off the bench that are going to give you 10, 12 points. It's going to help the Knicks score 125 points, 120 points. And if the Knicks could score 120, 125 points and cut teams down to 100 points like they did last year, watch out. The Knicks are going to be one of the best teams in the NBA.